Welcome to the United We Scan podcast, the podcast by rural carriers for rural carriers. The views expressed in this podcast do not reflect the views or opinions of the United States Postal Service or the National Rural Letter Carriers Association. We ask that you please consult your assigned union representative for guidance in your local area. Make sure you like this podcast, share with your fellow rural carriers, and subscribe to be notified each time a new episode is uploaded. Please rate this podcast 5 stars where applicable, and leave a comment or question for us below. Thank you. Now, here are the hosts of the United We Scan podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. I am back this week. I almost didn't think I was going to be, but I am here today. What are we on? Episode 84? Is that right? Please remind me.
Yep.
I don't have my phone in front of me.
That's what it says.
Yeah. That's what Josh said.
Hey, cool. I missed last week. You know, I'm winging it today, so I'm not even home. So, you know, I'm winging it all. How was your week, James?
Oh, lots and lots of fun. I had to file my 2 grievances with management. And waiting on a result. My ADR is going to meet with management on Tuesday on it, supposedly. So we'll see how that turns out. And it was still heavy. Still getting those Amazon packages in. Lots of postal packages coming in from Prime Week now. Because some people on the Prime channels were shipping through the Postal Service or FedEx or UPS or everybody else besides Amazon. So those started rolling in this week. Didn't have a single week where I was even close to my evaluated average number of packages. So I'm hoping that this number helps my bell curve. But other than that, it was pretty much a normal week. Thursday, got into a discussion with a carrier in my office about rural route optimization and kept asking questions about it, and I turned around and I told him you need to file the 1767 and an 8191. So on Friday night, my ADR called me for a little bit more information on the grievances that I filed, and I informed her that she's going to be getting another one over the rural route optimization. And she said, and I explained what was happening, and she said, good, he needs to file that. So that's going to be coming to management too. But then the weekend came, and now here we are to do this podcast. So how was your week, Toasty?
It was actually a pretty steady week. Amazingly, Monday wasn't too heavy, neither was Tuesday or Wednesday or the rest of the week. Actually got done pretty early on Tuesday, so I went ahead and did my mapping. And after I was finished doing my LTM, found out that it looks like they're starting to implement the interim route adjustment process finally, after a year and a half of this program. The next day, they actually decided to go ahead and start sitting down with carriers, going over the rural route optimization process. And it basically has me doing what I used to do when I first created the route, when it was all pieced together and everything like that from the 2018 count. Instead of me doing what I'm doing now, which is try to unload everything at the CBUs and then do all my curbside after that. But it's probably the most optimal to do, honestly. And it had a few errors that we went ahead and submitted the restrictions on, and keep having to go back in and put in more restrictions for one of my subdivisions. But other than that, not too bad. Got some rain down here finally. It's not in the hundreds, and it's been nice. It hasn't been too bad of a week. How about you, Bill?
Oh, just another lazy week for me doing paperwork. The convention coming up, I'm very busy on research for my acceptance of the nomination speech, as well as, fine-tuning my letter. And what gets me about this week was all the notices I got from people in regards to the rural route optimization, losing 6 miles, losing 15 miles, losing this, losing that. And the general consensus of everybody was the fact that management in implementing this program We're telling them to back up into driveways to make turns. Now, remember, everybody, if you look at your dash, there's a sticker on there that says, avoid backing up when possible. So why is management having us back up when we don't have to? If it's possible to continue the route without backing up, why are they directing us to violate that standard in regards of safety? And I understand these people are making U-turns off of 3-lane highways, trying to do crossovers, going into opposing traffic. This just is not making sense. And I hope everybody's filing a 1767 on these, because of the fact that we don't need to jeopardize our lives then to save another buck. And that's what I said. This is just another money grab by the post office. And the hell with your safety. They're not concerned with that. If they try to implement it in our office, they're going to have a fight on their hands that they can't win, because there's too many of us in there that are too knowledgeable, and we will take them out in the routes and show them. We won't sit on their computer and say, oh, this is unsafe. We'll take them out there. We will make them go out there. And that's what everybody should do. If you want me to commit a unsafe act, then let me take you out there and demonstrate it. And I don't care if that's, a second trip time. I don't care if you do it on your own time. You need to protect yourself. Remember, you're the most important delivery of the day. You need to get home safely, and you can't do that them implementing this rural optimization program. In the mini route, rant. Other than that, Kristen.
Well, let's see. Last weekend I was at the Incarceration Festival. Had an awesome time. My Ruby made it through the weekend like a champ. Let me tell you, 35 weeks pregnant. She even did the haunted house exhibit with us, and then we got home Monday, and was about 2.5 hours after we got home, Ruby was out in the back of a canoe doing the blind canoe race that we have that was leading up to the Asabo canoe marathon that was last night, and 120-mile canoe marathon between Grayling and Escoda along the Asabo River. They kicked off at 9 p.m. last night, and the first place winner crossed at about, I don't know, it was a little after 11 a.m. this morning. 11:15, 11:30, somewhere in there. So yeah, but so both towns do events leading up to the big race and everything, and so she, with a couple of the gals for her work, they did the blind canoe race, and she's one of the very few that actually knows how to paddle and steer a canoe. So there she was, paddling a canoe blindfolded. It was comical. I have video, and then Tuesday, I had Tuesday off just as a day recover from the weekend. Went back to work Wednesday and had my route inspection, which went fine. No issues there. The boss realized how well I do know my route with all the construction vehicles we had to go around. She's like, I would have not, she goes, I would have drove right past that box. I'm like, yeah, I know where my boxes are. And then Thursday I worked. Friday I worked, did my mapping when I got back, and then redid my case labels. And now I'm off again until Wednesday. While I was in Ohio last weekend, I found out that a dear friend of mine that I've been friends with since I was 5-6 years old was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, a very aggressive form. And unfortunately, she passed away Wednesday afternoon. So yesterday afternoon, I should say, I headed down to my parents' house, and there was probably a good sized group of about 40 of us that met up at the park and did a memorial walk down to her parents' house and a walk back. I burned up my last X day and my last annual day that I have available to be there for visitation and services Monday and Tuesday. So I am at my mom and dad's working remotely today, but I'm here. So wasn't sure if I was going to make it, if we were going to be done with the walk and everybody getting together. I'm really tired of class reunions like this. This is my third one in my class I've lost. So But other than that, it wasn't too bad. I'll get back and work a few days, and then Friday we find out what day we're gonna have this grandbaby. And then I gotta get ready for national. So I'm in all directions right now. And I know many people have been trying to contact me since last week. I've been got back to some I haven't yet. I apologize. Like I said, I am just all over the place right now, and I'm trying to get back to you guys as I can when I have a moment. But yeah, that's how it's all been for me lately.
I'm sure I speak for everybody here when we say we're sorry for your loss.
Yes.
Thank you. Yes, it was. I saw my second grade teacher. She the last time I saw her, I think was at the last funeral I was at. Um, but yeah, I got to visit with her. I didn't even know she was still around, so it was nice to see her and so many of my classmates and friends, and we'll all be leaning on each other some more the next couple days. But yeah, thank you guys. Michelle was definitely one of those type of people that always had a smile on her face, no matter what pain she was going through herself. She really was a true angel on earth that got called home. We're all dearly gonna miss her. All right, guys, let's get into this. I know you got some stuff going on, James. I'm a
Yeah.
little out of sorts, but I will put my input in as I can.
So 2 weeks ago, we did the episode on the rural route optimization and all the policies and procedures that management has to go through. And in the last 2 weeks, we've been hearing all the stories from carriers out in the field with the rural route optimization. You've got carriers that are being told to make U-turns on roads that they shouldn't be making U-turns on in places they shouldn't be making them. You have routing that's sending people through people's backyards. You have all kinds of stuff going on, and you have managers out there that don't care to even go out and look at this stuff, let alone you have management out there, and I will use one here in Michigan as an example and call her out for it, Tina in Davisburg, who isn't even contacting the carriers about the routing, let alone mapping with them. And that's a failure on management in that part. And management not going out and driving the route is not following the proper procedure for the rural route optimization. Here's the kicker, folks. If it is unsafe to do, no matter what management tells you, you do not do anything unsafe. Management will turn around and make it your fault, even if it's management's fault. It'll still be your fault. Protect yourself. 1767, PS Form 1767. Hazardous work condition. Doing a U-turn on a road that's 55 miles an hour where traffic usually does 65, 70 miles an hour is not safe. Doing U-turns at a four-way stop is not safe. Make sure you are taking care of your route and taking care of your customers. Have you guys heard anything from people getting route optimizations?
Not in Westchester. No. But to follow up on your backing up, James, yeah, it's funny that it's right on your dash. Even funnier is when they've come to carriers and say, you're doing excessive backing. Hold it. Okay. Excessive backing is over 50 feet and over 5 miles an hour and all that. You're just adding to this saying, you're allowed to back up when we tell you. I'm sorry. Am I getting a mixed message here or what? I don't understand. Are we supposed to avoid backing up or only when you tell us to back up and you determine that because you're looking at a computer screen and you're not on the street? Or am I just that damn stupid? Okay.
So I actually went through the route optimization because basically every route in our office minus one was set to do this program. So I went ahead and sat down, looked at it, and it almost had me doing what I did before. A few minor changes here and there until it got to one of my subdivisions that is basically a giant rectangle with connecting parallel lines with, separate streets, about 5 different streets. When it got to there, it started turning right on one street, and these have mailboxes on both sides, and then turning up a street, so ignoring the boxes that were on the opposite side until later. And it just seemed like a confusing mess that didn't actually reduce mileage within uh, that neighborhood. It just eliminated the U-turns that I do at the stop signs, which is okay because it's only 25 miles an hour in there. You can see clear as day left to right if any traffic is coming at you. So had to sit there, put in as many restrictions as we could. Went back the next day, looked at it again. It almost was back to where it should have been, where, I go around the outside and then zigzag in each street in the middle. And two of the streets are fine. And then once it got to the third street, it started doing the same thing where it went to another street, did one side, go back up to another street, do the other side, do another street up and down. That one was right. And then finish out. It was weird. So had to set the restrictions again and keep on going through the system, trying to put in the restrictions. Don't U-turn here. Don't left turn here. Don't right turn here. So hopefully when I get back in on Monday, it'll have the optimal route, which would make sense and be easier to case as well. But other than that, it doesn't have me doing U-turns on any major streets. There was a problem with every route in the office where it wanted us to drive through the fence around the post office to get to a street that's next to us instead of going out the main gate that we have at a four-way stop. So management had to sit there and try to go through every route just to fix that for every route. I don't know why it won't let them restrict that way. Like, hey, they have to go out this way. It's the four-way stop. It's the only gate that's open. They're trying to force us to drive through the fence. It's hard for supervisors to try to fix it when there's no distinguishing mark on there, because whenever you get in there, it'll show you, hey, this is a right turn. Hey, this is a U-turn. Hey, this is a left turn. It didn't have that for leaving the post office. So somehow they're able to restrict it. Everyone's been, going out the right gate now. So other than that, it's a process.
I'll give you $1,000 to drive through the fence, and when they write you up, you say, "Look, I'm just following the line of travel." This is your system. I'm just obeying the print
The directives
laid out here, folks.
I'm following a direct order.
I'll
grieve it later.
If I vary off the line of travel, I have to get prior approval, and I just drove through the fence. What the hell? It's a shortcut. Dumbasses. I swear to God.
I did have one listener that reached out to me that went through the optimization, and basically all it did to their route was take stuff that was normally at the end of the route and put it at the beginning, vice versa, and only shaved off 0.3 of a mile.
Oh, the savings from that. That'll save the post office $1 million.
Yeah, that was worth the effort, wasn't it?
Well, if you add up all the
exactly at that point, might as well just reject it.
Well,
yeah, none of that came through when I did my mapping. I haven't heard anything about my office for optimization, so I don't really see how they would optimize my route at all, but we'll see.
They'll find a way.
Oh, I'm sure they would.
I wish them luck on mine.
Yeah, me too.
Mine would have to include a bunch more left turns.
Kristen, I know you weren't here last week, but I don't know if you paid attention. Our office, since we got moved to the Wayne facility, the SDNC, we are no longer going to cut or adjust the 3 overburdened routes. We're just going to add 44 extra miles on there and let them do it for free, including my route.
Oh, wow.
Wasn't that nice?
Yeah, no, they got to pay for that extended route.
Yeah, they can pay.
Crazy.
But I'm already overburdened, so there's nothing left to pay.
Exactly. Yeah, I know. It's
Yeah,
ridiculous.
yeah. And like I said, for us to get to our routes from Wayne to Westchester, we've got to go down a 3 to 4 lane major highway where the average speed is 65 to 75 miles an hour. And I want to see what dumbasses are going to work the day it snows and they put chains on an LLV, get out on that highway.
Yeah, that would be entertaining, wouldn't it?
Yeah, let alone the carrier who now moved out to Lancaster, PA, and now has an hour and a half drive to the new facility. Not going to happen. On Snowflake, they're calling out.
Yeah,
It's
that's
just
one of the.
absurd. They have no common sense whatsoever.
You expect management to have common sense?
No, it's federal government. If it makes sense, they do the opposite. We know that.
Mhm.
Well, like Independence Day, when they ask, how do you hide Area 51? And the father says, you don't actually think they paid $30,000 for a toilet, $20,000 for a hammer, do you? Oh, that's how you hide it. It's amazing that, in this day and age,
I could so make a remark about
well,
former, but I won't.
yeah,
I'll be nice.
this is a family show, okay?
So the next thing that I've got on the list is your edit books. So you have the paper edit books that you're supposed to do all the changes for. But there was a video, an informational video on the scanner that luckily I had wait time to sit there and watch the video in the morning. And there was one on a digital edit book. Some offices have it, some don't. You could actually go in there and mark houses vacant or occupied on your scanner. Now, and the other flip side to that, and this has actually happened to me, if you get a change of address, one of those PARS labels, somebody submits a change of address, the computer system is now marking the house vacant immediately. It doesn't matter if it's an individual forward or a family forward or a business forward, it's marking the address as vacant. I had 3 addresses on my mapping this month that were marked vacant that had just had forwards put in, but people moved in right as the people left. They aren't vacant, but the computer system said they were because a forward was put in. You have to be monitoring your mapping, you have to be monitoring your edit book, and you have to keep an eye on your addresses because this system is now automatically marking them vacant with a forward. And our rule is 90 days.
Yep. Yeah, it just goes to
Yeah, in my
the programming
instance,
side of all of
I
this.
have, yeah, and I have someone, mine is I'm getting close to that 90 days. Oh, somebody new just moved in.
Yep, and I
So
have people
yeah,
that
it's
moved
I
out and they sell their house, or they don't sell their house, they keep the house and they're going to rent it out, and they're just waiting for renters to come in. But they forward their mail to go live wherever they're living now, and then wait for that person to move in that's renting, or wait for a renter. Again, we need somebody programming that actually understands the PO 603 or has read it, because we even have, when you're mapping, when you're putting your park points and your walking distance, that it brings up the threshold, warning of, oh, this is further than 500 feet. We're allowed to deliver up to a half a mile away from the box. That's not 500 feet. That's over 2,000 feet.
Well, just for your information, James, with the forwards, the United States Postal Service incorporates an AI system specifically for the forwards, okay? Unfortunately, their AI stands for assholes and idiots, because those are the dumb bastards that are instituting this system that are affecting our routes, our paychecks, our health, our safety, everything. I mean, yeah, you're losing boxes, you're losing volume. I mean, what else would you want to do to squeeze blood out of a rock?
Yeah. We went. See, this goes right back to our conversation on the railroad optimization. Not only do you have taking 66% of carriers' money in the first mini mail survey, then the carriers started getting their money back. Now, even though our union representatives posted in the Q&A that management will not be able to edit our scans, quote unquote, at this time, they're now allowing them to do that and take more money out of the carriers' wallets. You have the rural route optimization taking miles off the route, which is taking money out of the carriers' wallets. Now you have the computer system marking them vacant, which, according to my DR and district manager, when they went through my disputes that they returned to me, that if a house is marked vacant, that it does not give you the credit for that month. So even if you do, unless you fix it in the mapping before the end of the month, you're not going to get credit for that house for that month. And so your active addresses will be a decimal place in the mini mail survey. And you'll lose money that way. That is why you stress mapping, mapping, mapping every month. It doesn't matter how much you have to get home, how much you have to do stuff, and so on and so forth. This is your money that they are taking out of your wallet.
If you don't do your mapping, if you don't do your LTMs, if you don't protect yourself, don't worry about your home because you're not going to be able to afford it anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one thing if you have vacancy, like with Kristen, she has the snowbirds that are up there. But what if you have like customers where I have that go away for 2 months at a time? They're going to be vacant every time I turn around. Well, hold on, you can't make this shit up. And like you said, James, it is a test program in regards to editing the scans. Don't you think that that's going to be in the next contract, or it'll be an MOU? Understanding that we are going to be edited by management if we break certain thresholds, if we pass benchmarks that the post office has predetermined.
Yeah, because your
Get your bottom
evaluation
dollar.
can't go up. Yeah.
And the only thing that I could see where the edit program for editing scans would be valuable and work the way it probably should be intended to work, and we all know management won't do it that way, is if the carrier themselves accidentally hits something and comes up and says, hey, I accidentally hit this. Can we go ahead and edit this out, please? Or, I failed to put in my walking sequence and can we add this in? Something of that nature where it's the carrier going to say, hey, we need to edit this, not management just going in and editing willy-nilly, which we know that they will do.
Yeah. And
Why are you always picking on Willie and Nilly? Huh? They're not the only two. Just a little
Well,
humor.
that's just being nice. I'm just being nice.
Yes, I know.
no matter how you try to slice it, if anybody has the ability to edit inputs that have been put into the system, somebody is going to abuse it. And that somebody is almost always management. So even if it wasn't management that had the ability, but the carrier did, guess what? That management can print out your barcode for your ID, scan it, go in under your name, and edit the scans that way if they wanted to. So even if carriers had the ability, just the carriers had the ability to do it, management would have a way to edit those scans. I don't think editing scans at all should be on the table with anybody in this instance. I don't care
Never.
if carriers are putting in 17, 20 box holders when they only had one, or if carriers put in 15 stamp stock sales when they sold 15 stamps to one person. Nobody should be able to go in and edit those out. if there is a problem like that, management needs to do the proper investigation into it, and if warranted, do the proper disciplinary procedure according to the contract. Because unfortunately, it was management's responsibility to train us. And if management didn't properly train us, that's a failure on management, and that evaluation should go up by those extra scans that the carrier put in.
Amen. And you're right. It's just like the evaluated system. It's the same way, when you have your drop day coming up. If there's a way of taking advantage of the system, people will find it. Not just rural carriers, but city carriers, clerk, custodians. Everybody always looks for a way to beat the system. And if there's a way to manipulate the system and save the post office money, trust me, management will utilize it. And if they won't, if they don't utilize it, they'll be directed from those above to do it.
I just said this in the chat because one of our listeners said carriers should be able to edit the scans themselves on the scanners. I said it should only be on the original scanner for the carrier if they're going to do that. So if your scanner dies and you have to use a different scanner, or your scanner breaks, you have to use a different scanner, you can't edit the scans that you put in on that original scanner. And PIN numbers for it, like somebody said in the comments, somebody could have access to those numbers and cheat. There are management people out there that will get those PIN numbers from somebody, even if it's the carrier themselves, to do the edit themselves instead. You have to always think, what is a way management will use this against carriers? How will management turn around and usurp the system? Just like them doing mapping with the craft.
Well, we've seen it in payroll where they've gone in and edit 4240 sheets. We've seen it where they do the green cards on the subs when they're helping out, saying, "Oh, there's too many hours on the route that you helped out. I have to cut an hour and a half or 2 hours off of your time." Bullshit. I worked it. I'm entitled to it. I mean, if there's a way to save a dime, they'll find it. And they will manipulate the system to their advantage. That's why we have the REC system. This is why we have the rural route optimization program. This is why we're having this test program with the scanners in regards to editing scans. Do you think it's going to stop just on those 7 or 8 scans that they have listed? No. They're going to put down every damn scan in there. Be in there manipulating your load times.
Mm-hmm.
Hour input time, 22-minute load time. I've heard a POOM out there that is telling carriers they have 15 minutes to load. Anything over 15 minutes, they're getting disciplined. Well, unfortunately, now that you've threatened discipline, that's harassment in the office. That is a hostile work environment. Thirdly, that is not following due process and the disciplinary procedures in our contract. And on top of that, it takes what it takes to load a truck. I can tell you, my truck is the very first one in the row of trucks in my office. And it takes me 20 minutes to load my truck. Not to mention the carrier all the way down at the end, 12 trucks down, has to walk all the way down there with their parcels, going over bumpy terrain, trying not to knock them off the top of their stack of packages and stuff like that. But they're going to be 30 minutes just walking down there, pushing the cart down and back with loading. So these people, I mean, I shouldn't even call them people the way they treat us. These animals at the top are looking at spreadsheets and bell curves and not actually looking at the human factor. And that is the problem. Everybody above us, from above the carriers, 204Bs included, aren't looking at the human factor. There is no humanity in management anymore.
Yeah, I've been saying that for a while. They've completely removed the humanity out of working at all.
And that's why we need a stronger union to start making them realize you need to treat us better. Or we're going to start making you all pay.
Exactly.
We're going to start making these grievances come out with a pay And you're not going to like that because now it's going to be attached to your file, and your file is going to show, hey, your station had to pay out of over $1 million grievances between city clerks and rural. Well, yeah, you're not going to get that promotion because it's probably just going to cost us more of you, or over a couple of different offices. We need to start fighting back. We need to have a fighting union, not one that just praises everything that the post office does.
Oh, are you saying that we shouldn't agree with Lewis in regards to his, delivering for America plan, or that the SDNCs are monumental failure? No, you're not creating dissension here, are you, Toasty? Come on now, we're all in this together. All in this together. Remember?
Constructive criticism.
It sounded like whining to me.
Well,
but that's just me.
Continuing on with the management stuff, I have passed on to the concerned parties in the area, but I have actually heard of several offices, and I've contacted all the DRs in those regions on this, that they're still shutting off the AC to force carriers out, including not only in the AM to force them out to the street in the AM, but they're actually shutting them off about 30 minutes before carriers return to the office. So that email from Buffalo several years ago
3 years
is
ago,
still occurring today, is still happening today, and it is affecting not only rural, but city, clerks, janitors, all the unions across the board. Because these people have to work in these offices during those conditions that they're trying to force these carriers out the door. The clerks have to be in there sorting the mail and the packages for the carriers. The janitors are starting their days of cleaning and getting stuff organized and set up the way that they're supposed to be doing. Maintenance staff's in there changing light bulbs and things like that, especially those guys up on ladders because heat rises. It is an unsafe environment for everybody that is on that workroom floor when the AC and the fans are off. And I've heard of offices that choose not to fix the AC in the workroom floor area just for that very reason.
Or you could be in an
doesn't
office like
care.
mine, which is the complete opposite, and it's like a meat locker in there.
I'd work there.
So
I'm
if
not
this is
complaining one bit, let me tell you. But yeah, it's the point you're waiting around for clerks to toss packages and you're getting cold. You're like, oh, I guess I'll go outside and warm up.
yeah, OSHA's already investigating them for carrier and supervisor deaths out in the LLVs
Mhm.
right now. So everybody, if they are shutting off the AC and the fans in your office, contact OSHA. That is a safety hazard. 800-321-OSHA. And I will tell you this, there are some offices where it is not the local management, but district management that has control over the thermostats somehow.
Yeah,
Well,
I've heard that too.
you can control it remotely with a computer or a cell phone, just like your house.
Yep.
You can also submit it online to OSHA, and they will actually get back with you. OSHA actually does respond rather quickly to OSHA complaints. One of the few government agencies that does really quickly. I will tell you that much. And hopefully, with maybe enough, they will finally come down on them with more than just a 6-figure slap on the wrist. Maybe they'll finally start investigating who's actually causing this and maybe cause actual change to happen. We can hope. Probably won't, but we can hope. If not, you should still also be filing a 1767 unsafe work environment and an 8191 grievance. Because you need to take care of yourself, your fellow carriers, your brothers and sisters of other crafts, stand up to tyranny. Stand up to violations of health and safety. Stand up to violations of our contract and working rules. It's time to stand up all together.
Good pause.
I need
What's
to
the
take
next
a
subject
breath.
you got, James?
I need to take a breath because I'm getting upset because I do not like seeing our carriers or our brothers and sisters in other crafts treated this way. It really gets under my skin that right now the only thing I can do is talk about it on a podcast, and hopefully I can engage enough people to stand up to actually incite change within the Postal Service by the craft doing what the craft is supposed to be doing, which is protecting our own and getting results. Not slaps on the wrist, not settling for language, actual results that make our working conditions actually livable.
Well, in honor of being Sunday, I have to bring up the fact that I'm seeing more and more posts where carriers are working Amazon Sundays and they're being brought in at 10 a.m. and having a fit. They are livid. Started in my area a while ago, and now it seems to be almost a nationwide occurrence. Coming in at 10 a.m. to run Amazon. Who the hell do
Yep.
we work for? The post office or Amazon? Why isn't the
So
post office standing up for the carriers?
it's not even just Amazon, it's also the clerks that are getting affected by it too. They have to come in later. I remember
Yeah, well,
when we were working Amazon Sundays in my office, when I hate using this term, but when I was a sub, we would come in at 8 o'clock, and the Amazon would have been there by 6:30 in the morning, and the clerks
yeah.
would have everything pretty much sorted except maybe the last half a pallet by the time we got there. And the interesting thing with the 10 a.m. start for me is that these carriers are doing 7, 8, 9 hours, and they're leaving out of the office at 11 o'clock in the morning, noon, when it's the hottest time of the day. Noon to 3 p.m. is the hottest time of the day, and they're just starting their routes. So it's stupid.
It's just it just befuddles the mind that you sit there and say, hold it, we have the equipment, we have the personnel, we have the resources. We're being dictated by Amazon to do this. I'm sorry. I don't understand that. Like I said, it went back years ago when Margaret was our postmaster general, and I brought up the fact that we were giving away money to Amazon and setting them up to succeed. Because once they found that there was a market, there's a market share out there for them to capitalize on and manipulate. Wow, Amazon just blew our doors off, didn't it? And for 5 years without a mail count, he handled Amazon for Amazon. And as they build up their resources, distribution centers, and contractors, they kind of weaned us off of it, and still can't do it without us. So why are we letting them dictate the terms? This your Deliver for America program, Lewis?
Well,
But
like Monday, I had heard from one of the carriers in my office on Monday. They got like 14, 15, like 14 skids of Amazon for my thick throat and an ox office. And well, we got a highway contract route too. So 8 routes for rural side and 3 city. And, we had roughly about 14 skids of Amazon that came in on Monday. And our POOM made a directive to management to hold back 3 APCs from the post office of parcels so all the Amazon would go out.
isn't that considered failure to delivery mail?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they hold back 3 APCs of post office packages so all of the Amazon could go out.
You brought up an interesting point because you have highway contractors. Now, do they come in on Sunday and deliver?
No, we don't have Sunday delivery in my office.
Okay. If anybody does, let me know. If you have a highway contractor routes in your office and Amazon Sunday comes in, because in our office, the rural carriers take out the highway contractors. And I know the highway contractor, personally, and she said, well, not paid for Sundays. I said, well, why didn't you put it in for the bid? And she goes, we tried, but they won't let us. The post office is encumbering themselves with more expense by delivering packages for routes that are not rural or city routes. So it's just an added expense. To me, that's just common sense. You're a highway contractor. Either you come in on Sunday or you lose your contract.
Yeah, our one highway contractor, he's been on that route for over 40 years. And yeah, his Amazon's just ridiculous for the size of his route. He more times than not actually has someone to come in and split the route with him every day.
Well, that's his decision to do that.
Yeah, that it absolutely is.
Yeah.
And, he pays them and supplies them a vehicle too. But at the same time, yeah, it's, as far as I know, my old office, we didn't have highway contracts, so I couldn't say when it came to how Amazon Sundays are done for highway contract routes. But yeah, we don't have the Sunday in my office right now, so thank goodness. Not that it matters to me anymore, but still, it just makes Monday suck even more. But we manage it.
Well, and this is exasperated by us at Westchester office being moved to this SDNC in Wayne, because the past 2 Sundays they've actually asked for volunteers from the regulars, craft, to help on parcel deliveries. And you know what they're actually doing? They're getting the regulars to take the rural routes out, and they're getting the RCAs to take out city routes.
Hmm.
Of course, I hope nobody mentioned to them about filing a grievance about that. Not that I would, but I hope somebody didn't do that.
Somebody just said out loud, well, if it was me.
But somebody
Well,
is not in the office right now to do that.
I'm sure that'll get edited out. Hope not. Leave it in there. Hey, just because I'm not in the office doesn't mean I can't be of use.
Exactly.
And it doesn't mean we aren't here to help the craft as much as we can, even when we're not in the office.
Exactly.
So the last topic that I have is a big one that can actually be beneficial to us. And that is the top agents of the United States Postal Service, the Board of Governors, has just had 2 people nominated for the Board of Governors, Val Demings and William Zollers, by Joe Biden. President Biden nominated them to fill vacancies on the Board of Governors. And it is only when we have a full Board of Governors that we have the ability to elect, oversee, or remove the Postmaster General. We have to have a full board to be able to elect or remove the Postmaster General. So this is the first step in a possibility of removing Louis DeJoy from Postmaster General position, if the Board of Governors so chooses so. With the push going on right now, and all the senators calling for his removal, this is the first step in that direction. But it's also possible that they may just turn around and push it off to the next election, where the person who appointed him Postmaster General is running for re-election to the office. What are your guys' thoughts? Do you think that we have a chance that the Board of Governors may actually take action that will protect the carriers, or do you think it'll be more of the same, kick the can down the road? Not to get into too much politics.
After his last 2 sessions before the House and the Senate, a lot of them are angry because, I mean, my representative is one of the House Oversight Committeemen, and he said that, and during his interview with DeJoy, that he didn't realize that a good half of his job would be taking complaints about the post office or from postal employees. He's like, he thought he was going to be helping more veterans and writing bills and everything like that. And he's handling a lot of stuff when it comes to the post office. So a lot of these representatives, a lot of these senators, they're upset, especially with Georgia, with the failure in Arizona with the SNDCs. Um, there's all of these people that are upset, calling their representatives, calling their senators, who are then tied up with that instead of campaigning or doing other stuff. They're trying to get these things resolved for their constituents so they can get the votes, and they're having to spend time on that. So now they're kind of upset that everything's going awry, and that there's all this money being dumped into these SNDCs, and they're failing. They're failing at scans. They're failing at getting the mail through. It's taking, what usually used to take 3 days is taking weeks now. I mean, James, you experienced that with your Express.
Mhm.
But I think there's going to be a push. I don't know how, with the political climate that we're in right now, if they're going to do it before or after the election, considering that we do handle mail-in ballots as well. So it's unfortunately possibly going to come down to a game of politics, which unfortunately we get stuck in the middle of all that junk.
Mhm.
And I don't know. We'll see how it plays out, but I'm gonna err on the side of it's gonna be a kick the can down the road.
Yeah, that's my gut feeling
Yeah, I
too. Is that
agree. I think it's gonna be a kick can.
yeah, it's easier to go with the flow than it is to change direction. Just like our union, it's easier to go with the flow than take a chance on a new direction. So, I mean, apathy is the greatest evil of our time. As far as the union's concerned, as far as politics and voters are concerned. I mean, really, people are sick and tired of all the commercials, the literature, and everything else. And as carriers, we're tired of all the damn flyers and political flyers that we have to deliver that we may or may not be getting credit for. But the fact of the matter is that these people don't run on the basis of what they have accomplished. They run on the fear factor of what the other guy will do versus what I have done, or in many cases, what I haven't done. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
remember an interview where a certain vice president was interviewed about being at the border and turned around and answered the question 4 different ways before saying, "Well, I haven't been to Europe either." What the hell's that got to do with going to the border? I mean, you know, it's just ludicrous in regards to how politicians carry themselves, how they behave towards each other. Said, run on your own strengths, not on your opponent's weaknesses.
Exactly.
Have nothing to offer to at the table. Step away from the table.
It's funny to me that we have all these issues going on across the country with the Postal Service. We have all these senators that are sitting there and getting these phone calls, getting carriers, clerks, mail handlers, and all these people calling them saying, "Help me, help me, help me." And it's up to the Board of Governors to be able to actually make the changes at the top that need to happen. It's up to the Board of Governors to put the ruling down on management. They don't not only have the Postmaster General authority, they could actually, as a Board of Governors, fire other managers too, because they are technically the ones in charge of the Postal Service above the Postmaster General. And the fact that we are sitting here every week talking about the failures of the Postal Service to help our carriers, the failure of them to do that. But you have so many people out there who aren't paying attention to what's happening now. They are so stuck on what happened in the past, they haven't seen where the future is going. They're so stuck in this was the way it was, this happened back then, so I'm going to use that as my stomping ground point as to why I'm not going to vote this way, as to why I'm not going to do this, instead of actually seeing how things have changed, how opinions have changed, how ways things work have changed. You have people in our current national office that haven't touched a route in 30 years. And yet they're trying to tell us that it's okay that management's doing this because it's just a test. It's not going to affect your evaluation yet. They are so out of touch with the carriers on the ground because they don't want to listen to the carriers on the ground, that even the carriers on the ground pulling their dues won't get their attention.
Let me ask you a question, James. Everybody. If you're the head of a corporation, like the post office, any corporation, and you're sitting around with your management team and you're looking for ways to cut costs, one of the ways you would do that is you would run a test program or a pilot program. See if you could create more efficiency to cut down on expenses, or whether or not that program itself would illustrate areas of avenue of income that could be mitigated through introducing these tests, and say, oh, if we do this, we might be able to increase by 1.2%, 1.8%. The reason they do these tests is because they already know beforehand that if they can get this pushed through, shoved down their throats, that they will be able to save money. That's all this rural route optimization program is about. Like I said, it's about saving the buck on our backs. Don't believe for 1 second the post office hasn't examined this. They had some engineer like Dr. Miracle turn around and say, where can we save more money? And this guy came up with this program as a pilot or a test program and said, let's see what we can do here and how much it would optimize and save us, X amount of dollars over the course of time.
Bill, do you want the Walmart answer or do you want the logical answer?
Oh, give me the Walmart first.
Okay. You replace all the low-level employees with computers. Self-checkout. You replace them with robots that stock shelves. You replace the low-level minimum wage employees with that. The lowest paid employees, you replace them with that, and you'll save millions and millions and millions of dollars. Now, on the other hand, if you go the logical route, like UPS did after they signed the contract with the Teamsters, and they found out how are we going to save the money that we're now spending with this new contract, they decided to turn around and cut middle management. Now, if the
10,000
Postal Service, if the Postal Service turned around and cut out 10,000 middle management jobs with their 15% raise increases that they just got not too long ago, and another 5% coming in the next year, they could save more than what they're saving with the Rural Route Optimization Program. 10,000 managers is all it would take to save the amount of money they're taking from rural carriers with the Rural Route Optimization Program.
Let's see, 10,000 times 178. So they'd only save $117 million. They got rid of 10,000 managers.
Yes, and the Rural Route Optimization Program, I've estimated would save about $84 million.
Let's fire management.
Instead, let's hire more management and give them raises.
What was it? 16% what I seen rolling around?
15, and then another 5 coming.
For what end value contributions?
Zip.
I don't get it.
Meanwhile, the ones of us actually doing the hard work are the ones that are suffering.
And don't forget, if management runs a route, they actually get paid for the route they run on an hourly basis on top of their salary as management.
Yep.
So that's the most idiotic thing coming down from management is let's hire more managers. We can't afford to pay our carriers, but let's hire more managers.
Yeah, because that'll get the mail delivered.
So but that's all I had for today. Anybody have anything else?
I'm good.
Do we want to talk about the interim route adjustments?
The
Oh,
interim
Go for
route
it.
adjustments?
you just
Go
want to
for
set
it.
James off, don't you?
So this is just my experience with it because this is still pretty new. So when I did my mapping this week, on Tuesday, after doing the DPM, you have to wait for the LTM. So I went and did my markups, did everything like that. Went back, LTM was ready to go. After the LTM is finished, once you're done, checking everything, making sure your stop signs are there, traffic lights, railroad crossings, everything. At the end of it, right before you get to the printout page that has your mileage, your, everything that's on page 1 of your 4241M basically, and your 4003, your line of travel with the right hand, left turn, everything like that. It'll actually show you like we used to see on the 4003 with your bank time. And it'll show you on the left side, last evaluation, and it shows you the date. Mine was from April from the mini mail survey. And then coming to, this past week, whenever I updated my mapping, it saw that I had the extra 3 dismounts that I've had for, a month or two now. And the extra boxes, the extra dismount distance, everything like that. And it showed me going from 58 hours and 21 minutes to 61 hours and 10 minutes. So it's coming. I'm not sure if it's launched fully yet, but in our office, we
No,
are
it
able to
hasn't.
see. Okay, yeah. In our office, we were able to see after you do your LTM, it'll actually run it through the numbers, basically just anything that's on page 1 of your 4241M. So just everything that's calculated for your route, it won't do anything. It doesn't look like it does anything, at least for, if you had an increase in packages, increase in mail volume, anything that's from pages 2 and 3, your load times, your end of shift duties. But it will calculate at least the base information from your route.
That's interesting. Yeah, I was looking to see if there was anything like that yet in my office when I did my mapping on Friday, but there wasn't. So I know it's not across the board yet.
Okay, well, hopefully it's coming. And now that it's been a year and a half and we're into our almost 4th mini mail survey. So hopefully we can get it there. Hopefully this works out. It to me, it looks pretty accurate from the numbers that I put into basically what I did is copied and pasted all the numbers from the 4241M and just adjusted as I went through. That's how I've been able to estimate my evaluations usually. And it looks like it's just everything that's on that first page. So
Yeah, so the LTM takes your last mini mail survey and only changes the mileage, the box count, etc. in that section, the sections that only the LTM deals with. The DPM and LTM deal with. That's it. It does not change your mail volume, does not change your walking distances, or it does change your walking distance, my bad.
only for
Yes.
authorized dismounts.
Only for dismounts, and it also will change it if you gain or lose blue boxes as well. Those will also be changed. So anything done in your DPM and LTM are the only things that change in the interim adjustment. Everything else comes from the mini mail survey evaluation that you had. It does not have the ability to change anything else at this point. However, again, with management, at some point they're thinking maybe we can do interim adjustments that involve all the other pieces except for the mini mail survey numbers. They're thinking about it. Um, Hopefully that doesn't happen because then that would basically make us pretty much hourly carriers.
Yeah, and I have seen chatter of management telling carriers that eventually, their evaluations could change every pay period with this program. Which I remember when Rex was first talked about coming out, that's how it sounded like it possibly could be prior to anything, but I really hope that's not the case.
Unfortunately, the programming
Then
could be that way.
that's almost a step closer into being hourly.
Step closer to being city, which is what management wants us to be, is just like city. 8-hour days, and they can give us pivots, overtime, and all that stuff. Because they want to treat city carriers and rural carriers the same, because that means less training for management to have to take. Means less things management has to know.
Isn't that ironic that several years ago they did a pilot program with the city carriers to see if they wanted to go to an evaluated system, and the city carriers blew it out of the water because they want to get paid for every hour they work, versus us. Oh no, we don't want no pivots. We don't want you forcing us to volunteer or anything. No, we like our evaluated system. That's what makes us the most cost efficient body of workers in the postal service.
And the biggest benefit was being able to get off of work before your evaluation ended.
Yeah.
Remember when
they don't understand that.
I remember when I was on the fire department and I would go run calls after I was done working at the post office. So I was still being paid by the post office for the hours of my evaluation while running calls for the fire department because I was under my evaluation.
That's all right. We had a DR working at a firehouse as the captain while being the DR full time, and sorry, he got removed. That was the funny way. You weren't allowed to. Well, you couldn't call this guy before 10 a.m. because he wasn't up yet from working the night shift at the firehouse. Are you kidding me? And the thing of it is, it was common knowledge.
All right, guys, time to wind this down.
Yep.
Sure.
Hey.
All right, everyone. Just we're about a month away from the next mini mail survey. Make sure that you get your mapping done. Check your edit books. Make sure go through your entire mapping with your edit book to make sure everything's open that needs to be open. Anything that's closed needs to be closed. Make sure you put all your stop signs. Make sure check all traffic lights. Especially if you're doing the rural route optimization and they're changing your line of travel, you're going to have to do that all over again. Make sure that all your walk distances in office, if you are a withdrawal office, are correct. Make sure to remeasure it. Always remeasure it. And then make sure that your authorized dismounts, anything extra that you have, make sure everything is correct. Because this is the time right before mini mail survey, before the system pulls all the data that it's going to calculate off of. This is when you're going to have to make sure everything is on point, all the I's dotted, all the T's crossed. Make sure you do it. It is your pay. As Bill has said before, if you don't put it in the system, you don't put it in the scanner, you don't put it in your mapping, it doesn't go in your wallet. This is your money. You work hard for it. You work in severe weather for it. You break your back delivering kitty litter and dog food. Don't give them a single penny back that you are supposed to get credit for. James?
It's amazing to try and think of what is management going to abuse carriers with. We shouldn't have to have that mentality. We shouldn't have to wonder, how is management going to screw us over this week? What's the flavor of the week this week? Is it failure to follow directions? Is it benchmarking, the number of inputs that you put in your scanner? Is it the mileage on your route? Is it how fast you get out of the office, load your truck? Sometimes flavor of the day, yeah. And we shouldn't be thinking about this. Rural carriers right now, well, not just even rural carriers, all carriers are so overstressed with the micromanagement going on in the Postal Service. We shouldn't be this stressed. We should be able to come in, do our job efficiently and effectively, go home at the end of the day, and get paid on payday. And even that's not happening. Management's failing at even the most basic functions of management. And yet, here we are, dealing with more managerial problems, more managerial failures, more managerial harassment. All because people at the top aren't willing to stand up against it and fight viciously and effectively to stop it from happening. It's time for us carriers to get together. We have our national convention coming up. This is probably one of the most contested national conventions in a little while for a lot of positions. And it's time for every single one of us to go there, stand up for the craft, stand up for our brothers and sisters, and show management and union national officers that when the rural craft stands up, we stand together because we're all in this together. Bill?
Well, to kind of go off of James in regard to micromanaging, I remember back in the day of Ben Franklin, and we would sit around and have some ale, maybe some grog if we couldn't afford it. But the fact of the matter is, it's real simple. You get us the mail, we case it up, we take it out, we deliver it. You provide us with the materials that we require to do the job. Now, every carrier has specific little things that what they do in different fashions. But the thing of it is, it's real simple. Get us the mail, give us the packages in a timely fashion, give us the support we need. If we are falling down on the job in some aspect, talk to us so that we can make the corrective action. Don't come in and just hammer us with discipline. Work with us. This is a working relationship. It's not like a married relationship like was brought up at the caucuses last year. But the thing of it is that this is a relationship. You respect me, I respect you. We work together for a common goal. And since we're the ones that are the face of the post office, you need to treat us with a little more respect as we are going out into the public. And we're conveying that confidence that we have in the post office, in the management, in the system. We can't do that. And the customers see that, and the customers know it because, the failures of delivery for any aspect, whether it be a parcel, certified letter, whatever, hold mail, forwarding mail. All you have to do is support us and work together. But that doesn't seem to be the mindset of the current postal management. It's hammer, 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 hammer. You know what? When you keep hammering like this, somebody's going to snap. And I don't want to bring up, situations that have occurred in the past, but this is what we're going towards. This is what's gearing up because of the fact that you treat carriers like dirt. They're less than human in their eyes, and we can be replaced at a moment's notice, which is surprising because you have so many offices out there that can't hire carriers, can't retain carriers. But you know what you can retain? Piece of shit management that don't know the contract, don't know the 603, don't know the ELM, don't know the RCAM, don't know jack shit. But as long as they follow the orders of those above them, maintain their jobs, and as long as they get their reports done in a timely fashion every day, their jobs are secure. As long as they turn around and maintain the hostile work environment and threaten you. When I heard of a POOM saying, you haven't fulfilled necessary, what you call INIs or PDIs for last month. Hold it. You're benchmarking PDIs now? what the hell is going on? Shouldn't you be correcting the action of these carriers instead of disciplining? Remember, it is supposed to be a corrective action, not a disciplinary action. They forgot that. And that's why they lose most of their grievances. You can only hope for the best with the national convention coming up. And that is new membership, with a new perspective, with a hands-on perspective of what carriers face every day in offices across this nation. You can only pray that we have the opportunity to turn this union around and make it start representing the craft. All the craft. Union and non-union members alone. Alike, because of the fact that if you do it to one, you're going to do it to anybody else in there. So, James said it. You have to stand up for these people. You have to stand up for everybody because we are legally required to do so. But you should be doing it because it's in your best interest also. All I can say is that, we're still in summer heat. Everybody hydrate, start drinking fluids tonight, non-alcoholic, of course. Go out there and do the job the most proficiently, professionally, and with great courtesy towards your customers and your fellow carriers. And make sure you do what you're supposed to do, what you're paid to do, and get home because you're the most important delivery of the day to your loved ones. Have a good night. Kristen?
Thank you, guys. Yes, I'm right here. Thank you, guys, again. It's good to be back this week with everybody. Like Toasty said, mapping. Make sure that, you're getting in there and you're getting yourself mapped. You're going through the whole system, the whole LTM. And I will iterate, when you're doing an LTM and you're doing the whole thing, you can see if boxes are not pinned in the right place. I mean, I've had a couple of them as I got the opportunity to map facilitate last month again, where it looks like you're backing up or you're going in circles to get boxes in a section. If you see that, make notes of where those are at so you can go in and fix them in the DPM. Management may not want to have to spend the extra time doing it, but that is your right to make sure that that is correct. And definitely do that. Next mini mail survey's coming up end of August during National Convention. I will be gone all but 2 days as of right now for the mini mail survey. So, I am going to request that my sub sends me the numbers every day of what was counted with the raw mail and whatnot. And that way I can keep track while I'm gone. And make sure, I know my route, so I know what the averages are. But yeah, stay hydrated out there, guys. It's still summer. It's still hot, humid. And stay safe out there. Take those comfort breaks as needed. Try and stay cool, stay hydrated. And make sure you're taking care of yourself because, getting home to your loved ones is the most important thing at the end of the day. And on that note, guys, will everybody have a safe week, and we shall return next week.
All right, we're back.
We're back.
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna hop out of here and go grab some dinner.
All right, if you have to eat, go ahead.